Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let us praise and thank the presence of Allah Almighty for the evidence of grace and the joy of all you can still gather in this time without any barriers at all in a good health. Not forgetting the salawat and greetings we pour out to the Prophet Muhammad SAW, who has brought out of the dark age to the era of break like today, namely Islam. May we all get intercession on the end. Amen. As for this video, it was made to fulfill the final project for the course curriculum and material development in ELT. Okay, I am Ashfia Ammar from PBIB, a student at Alauddin Islamic State University of Makassar, majoring in English education, and now I am in 5th semester. We are the material in this video, namely the first preliminary phase, which consists of making decision on need analysis, gathering information on need analysis, and using the information on need analysis. The second phase is development phase, which consists of selecting or organizing course contents, developing the teaching materials, and reviewing and validating the teaching materials. And the third phase is consists of teaching instructional materials, evaluation learning outcomes, and summative evaluation. The first phase is a preliminary phase. In a preliminary phase, number one, making decision on need analysis. In making decision and before conducting of a need analysis, there are several things that must be done, namely deciding who will involve in the needs analysis, what kind of information should be collected, and what point of view should be present. Who will involve in the needs analysis? According to Brown, 1995, in determining who will be involved in the needs analysis, there are four categories that can be involved. The first, the target group, namely the people who are involved in the information you want to collect. Secondly, the audience, the people who are asked to act on the basis of the needs analysis. The third, needs analysis, the person responsible for conducting the needs analysis. And fourth, the source group, namely people who serve a source of information from the target group. Decide what type of information needed in the needs analysis. After deciding who will be involved in the needs analysis, the next step is to determine what kind of information should be collected. In this regard, we need to consider four different philosophies that are common in needs analysis, as these philosophies influence the type of information to be collected. Discrepancy philosophy. Discrepancy philosophy is information that views the need as the difference between the desired performance of students and what they actually do. Here we can ask questions in the form of whether learning English, especially in writing skill, is very important, so that we can find out the needs of the target. But besides that, we also ask questions in the form of what they do to achieve these desires. From this question, we can know whether what the target is doing to achieve their needs is correct or even inversely with their wishes. Democratic philosophy. Democratic philosophy is a type of information that looks at the needs desired by the majority of the groups involved. Here we can ask questions in the form of what needs the target needs to develop their English skills, whether it is the form writing skill, listening skill, speaking skill, or reading skill. Analytic philosophy. Analytic philosophy is information that is deemed necessary, such as research reports on second language acquisition. Based on this philosophy, questions can be met in the form of how the target is to train, acquire, or distribute their English language skills. Diagnostic philosophy. Diagnostic philosophy is a type of information that views need as the most important language skills that students need to survive in the language they are learning. Here we can ask questions in the form of what are the important things that the target needs in maintaining or improving their English skills, whether it is the use of grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Okay, the instrument to do the need analysis. Presenting types of information in the form of a questionnaire. Second material in preliminary phase is gathering information, need analysis. In this session, information is collected in the form of data processing from the questionnaire that have been distributed. As previously stated, the right use the needs used to assess all the needs of the target group. In gathering information, there are several important things that must be done, namely how to distribute questionnaire, process data, present data, and analysis data. As for the things that we're done to distribute the needs analysis questionnaire, first, the process of gathering information through the selecting of the question types. The first is a question that identifies the target problem. Second, the priority question in this question usually contain the use of language and skill that are considered the most important for the target to learn. Then the third, ability question that focus on the student themselves, which are usually related to student abilities to measure student overall language skill or to find out their weaknesses. The fourth is attitude questions, which are questions designed to reveal information about the participants' feelings and attitudes. The fifth is the question of the solution, which is a question that arises solution aids in understanding the problem. After considering the types of question, the second step is determine the most appropriate instrument for gathering needs analysis information. In data processing, data collected from various introductory questions is used to indicate the participants' situation. For example, name, gender, or age. In presenting the data, Brown 1995 proposed 6 categories of instrumentation, namely available information, test, observation, interviews, meetings, and questionnaires. In addition, when using any procedure to collect needs analysis information, in analyzing the data, it is necessary to take into account the 3 characteristics of each select procedure. The 3 characteristics include reliability, validity, and usability. Third material in preliminary phase is using the information on need analysis. The need analysis process can generate a lot of valuable information to use in the curriculum and syllabus for the first goals and objectives, which can also be used as a basis for developing tests, materials, teaching activities, and evaluation strategies. A formulating needs inventory. In formulating needs inventory, there are two, namely reviewing needs inventory from the linguistic needs and reviewing needs inventory from the learning needs. The first, reviewing need inventory from the linguistic needs. Identification of linguistic needs is done by analyzing learning priorities and student learned abilities. The results of the analysis are then used to prioritize that the skill need by student and choose teaching materials that are in accordance with what is needed. Second, reviewing needs inventory from the learning needs. Student learning needs in this study were conducted by analyzing learning problems and student learning attitudes. The student learning problems were described based on the analysis of respondent perception of the barriers to student learning success in order to able to effectively master the learning materials. Meanwhile, to explain student attitudes, the method used is to analyze student prevention and learning styles based on respondent perception because these two factors are believed to influence students' attitudes in learning. Formulating goals and objectives. The things that need to be considered in determining goals are objective, namely, first, identify student learning abilities. Second, determine which language components are most needed to be learned as a priority. Third, identifying the most preferred real-life topics and basic grammars. Four, identify the obstacles or problems most experienced by students. And the fifth or the last, identify the learning preference and learning styles that are most preferred by students. Okay. The second phase is development phase. In the development phase, there are three things that need to be considered, namely selecting and organizing course contents, developing the teaching materials, and reviewing and validating the teaching materials. First is selecting and organizing course contents. In selecting and organizing course contents, there are two things that need to be considered, namely selecting syllabus content and planning course structure, designing syllabus. Selecting syllabus content. In this section, the selection of syllabus issues is done by selecting the main topic and determining the order. As for how to determine the main topics according to Ricard 2001, that the information collected during the need analysis contributes to the planning of course content, as do additional ideas from other resources such as available literature on the topic, publisher material on the topic, reviewing the course, similar from and elsewhere, reviewing tests or exam in the area, analyzing student problem, consulting with teachers who are familiar with the topic, as well as consulting with special in the area. The ratio of the needs analysis and consultation that can be made into a list of topics. After knowing how to choose the main topic, the next step is to determine the order of the topic. According to Ricard 2001, the order of content is a course can be determined based on the following criteria. First, simple to complex. The content present earlier is taught more simply than the later items. Second, chronology. Content is sorted according to the order in which events occur in the real world. Third, Need. Content is ordered according to when students are most likely to need it outside of class. 4. Prerequisite learning. The sequence of content reflects what is required at the point as a foundation for the next step in the learning process. 5. Whole to part or part to whole. In some cases, material at the beginning of a course may focus on the overall structure or organization of a topic before considering the individual components that make up it. Alternatively, this course focuses on paying attention to the parts before the whole. And the last is spiral sequencing. Recycling items to ensure that learners have repeat opportunities to study them. Planning course structure or designing syllabus. The idea of designing a course syllabus can be started by choosing a syllabus framework which usually has a close relationship with the development of teaching materials based on the formulated syllabus framework. In planning the course structure or syllabus, it should be arranged based on student needs. For example, in the speaking course, student needs include how to introduce themselves, then get to know and introduce their family member, about their daily habits personally, explain their responsibilities in the family, tell about activities carry out in their spare time in the family environment, outside the family environment, then the need to interact with the environment at home. Okay, the second material in this phase, developing the teaching material. At this stage, there are two things that need to be considered, namely how to write a lesson plan, determine the organizational structure or the teaching material. How to write a lesson plan. How to write a lesson plan. In language program, lesson plans function to identify learning objectives and mark through activities for each stage of learning. Brown 2001 proposed 6 important elements that must be considered in preparing lesson plans, namely goals, objective, materials and environment, procedure, evaluation, and extra classwork. Defining a teaching plan will keep both teacher and student focused on their goals, how they will get there, and what must be accomplished when they arrive. Okay? Determine the organizational structure of the teaching materials. The teaching material in this session were developed based on the result of the needs analysis, which had previously been transformed into the syllabus and lesson plan. The organizational structure of teaching material for the research is planned by units, where each unit represents a topic and consists of 3 lessons. Lesson identified as Lesson A, gaining skill, Lesson B, using skill, and Lesson C, review. Okay, reviewing and validating the teaching materials. The review of teaching material is carried by providing instruments used to examine the element of teaching materials, namely content, language component, activities, and complementary materials. Content refers to the subject or topic covered in the teaching materials. For the effectiveness of the student of the materials, there are several statements that can be given regarding the content, including the diversity of topics relevant to the level and needs, contribution of the topic to the development of language skill, and originality of the material in the topic. The language components refer to vocabulary like pronunciation, word class, meaning, and diction, grammar, like sentence, construction rules, and language function like language used in social context. Activities can be defined as action of the learning process carried out to achieve certain goals. Action in this case refers to the opportunities provided to encourage student participation in achieving knowledge by collecting information and processing it by doing assignment in class. And last, supplementary materials refers to instrument or media that are aid to support and enhance teaching activities. In review phase, first material is teaching instructional materials. At this step, there are several things that need to be considered, namely how to decide the instructional material to be present, to determine the procedure in teaching in instructional materials. How to decide the instructional material to be present? Nah, deciding on teaching material to be present, first determine 3 topics and randomly select among 11 topics of teaching materials developed. Second, 3 topics selected to be taught in class are used as example of implementation procedure in the review phase. And the last, each topic is implemented into general section with specific time allocation and procedure for each. Determine the procedure in teaching the instructional material. Procedure in teaching materials. Implementation. The first, implementation of course content usually take place for 3 consecutive days involving 15 students. Second, the implementation of the evaluation aims to test the effect of teaching materials on increasing the communicative competence of the target student after going through the trial procedure. Therefore, the evaluation is carried out immediately after the implementation step is carried out. Second material in this session is evaluation learning outcomes. At this step, there are things that need to be considered, namely how to decide the use of formative or summative evaluation. Summative evaluation refers to examine what has been learned on a specific time, such as at the end of a lesson, unit, or course. It is based on cumulative learning experience tests for achievement and mastery of specific performance goals, while formative evaluation focuses on determining which aspect of the design are working well or not, and why. This evaluation occurs during the redesign and provides information for incrementally improving the interface. In other words, formative evaluation is used in an iterative process to make improvement before production, and summative evaluation is used to evaluate the delivered product compared to benchmark. The third material in this phase is summative evaluation. According to Kirkpatrick, 1996, summative evaluation can be carried out in 4 main levels, namely level 1, reaction. The first level of evaluation is done by assessing student reaction or attitudes towards the learning experience. The most appropriate instrument for this level is a questionnaire to find out whether students like or learn from the instruction given or not. Level 2, learning. This level aims to measure what students have learned from the material present by comparing their performance before and after receiving instruction. Given pre-test and post-test is considered very effective to show that learning has occurred as a result of instruction. Level 3 behaviors. At this level evaluation, teacher need to be involved in determining that student can actually use everything they have learned from the material. The evaluate this, the lecturer review learning outcomes by assessing student performance with respect to instruction. Questionnaire we also given to teacher to obtain information. Level 4 result. Result after conducting the previous 3 levels of evaluation, the effectiveness of the communicative competency based syllabus designed for one speaking course, like independent variable, can be measured in 2 aspects, namely the influence of instructional design on student achievement, where the syllabus improve its communicative competence. Based on student response, the result of the pre-test and post-test, as well as a lecturer perception of student performance when the evaluation level comes to decide whether the result of the previous evaluation procedure indicate the training programs has achieved its objective. The material it is revised and transformed into a syllabus design that is ready to be used in actual educational context. After going through its use in an actual educational context, after going through the review stage, the syllabus design becomes a communicative competency-based syllabus design for undergraduate graduate students. Okay, the conclusion in this material is curriculum development is an absolute thing and must be done to improve the quality of teaching in English. Generally, the curriculum is developed through the stage of need analysis, formulation of learning objective, preparation of syllabus, implementation of teaching material, and evaluation. Thus, syllabus design is part of the curriculum development process. My recommendation to teacher are that English teacher can write the syllabus or teaching material properly according to the abilities or learning needed by students so that the English learning process can run effectively. As for the recommendation for learners, namely to stay active in learning so that the knowledge obtained can be put to the good use. Lastly, I would like to say many thanks to my lecturer, Dr. Kaharudin is IPM Home, who has taught me in this course, and thank you for publishing the book Syllabus designed for English language teaching, because this book has been my guide in completing this video assignment. Maybe that's enough from me. Thank you for your time and attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.